Who are you? Hi, I'm Dan, Methodist minister in Bognor Regis, Feltham and Westergate, and today we're looking at Ruth chapter 3. How do you define who you are? Maybe by your relationships. For me, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a friend, I'm a minister. Maybe by your roles or responsibilities. For me, as a minister, I'm seen as a leader, I'm a preacher, I'm a pastor, I'm a treasurer for my daughter's school PTA. Or maybe by labels. I'm white, I'm British, I'm heterosexual, I'm male. Sometimes by how we look. I'm average height, I'm fairly bold, and I'm really not bothered about the fact that I can't get to the barbers right now. All this and more contributes towards our identity, our sense of who we are. But our identity can also be impacted by how others see us. Some see me as a Christian leader, others might simply see me as a Jesus freak. In my teens, I was really bothered by this question of how others see me, to the point that at times it negatively impacted on my well-being, and rather than being who I am, I succumbed to peer pressure, I suppressed some of my own identity, and I put a mask on in an attempt to not stand out, to avoid bullying and to make life easier. Last week we saw in Ruth that Ruth as a person was an outsider in a foreign land, and how she just wasn't prepared to submit to the identity that society was placing upon her. But she was determined to take action, to resist the cultural norms, and she crossed boundaries. She crossed boundaries to find hope and to find home. As we look at chapter 3, Ruth takes another step with a bit of a push from mother-in-law Naomi. And she heads to the threshing floor, the town's marketplace, the place of gathering and of distribution and of thanksgiving and transaction. And here, in the dark of night this time, she meets Boaz once more. Naomi, it seems, and perhaps Ruth too, is hoping that Boaz will take his kinsman responsibility and provide for them in a permanent way. And so there in the dark of night, Boaz asks Ruth, as Ruth approaches him, "Who are you?" Maybe he couldn't see in the dark. Maybe he wanted to know more about this woman, to know more beyond that which he already knew. There's much more that could be said about exploring this relationship, this encounter, the actions, the physicality of this encounter. Some suggest that Ruth's son, Ruth and Boaz's son, Obed, who we meet in chapter 4, is conceived in this moment. But I want us to focus not perhaps on that so much this morning, but just on this question that Ruth is asked in this encounter. Who are you? And later in the chapter, we find the question again, because when Ruth goes back to Naomi, she asks the same question. Who are you? And surely Naomi, of all people, knew who Ruth was, unless something had changed. This question comes twice like bookends to the encounter, and marking, I think, a moment of transition, a sign that something has changed for Ruth in her appearance, perhaps not physically, but in terms of how she is seen by others. Her identity as an individual is beginning to be uncovered. As Ruth's encounter helps her to uncover who she is, through our encounter in God, we discover more of who we are, how God sees us, and who God made us to be. God doesn't want you trying to be someone you are not. God doesn't want you trying to fit the mould that others create for you, like I did in my teenage years. God wants you to be who you are. A person of beauty, wonderfully made, filled with great potential for love and compassion and goodness. Yes, all those things and more are God's words over you, and God has placed them within you. I truly believe God wants you to know that He loves you, that He sees who you are and wants you to help uncover your identity more, to inhabit in your whole being a sense of who God has made you to be. So I encourage you this week, if you can, right now, to pause and to pray and to think about who you are and how you see yourself, what identity you place yourself within, and see how that compares to how God sees you. If you see this video and want to talk more about who you are and how God sees you, then please get in touch with us through the website, through our social media channels. We would love to hear from you. May God bless you with the knowledge that He loves you, that He's called you, that you are His, and that you are beautifully and wonderfully made.